Okay, welcome back, everybody. Yes, I know you're shocked. You thought the last one I'd forget, then take another 8-year gap. But no, no, no. I'm gonna get at least a handful of episodes out this season before I disappear into the ether and maybe resurface years later. But you know me, always keeping busy. Pivot is the name of the game, hustling from here to there. It keeps things exciting. So the guest I have with me has already done a whole bunch of podcasts with me under the mental health umbrella. We've collaborated on some really cool stuff. Today, I have her back on Talk to Ali for a whole different reason. So little Missy here decided to venture off, right? And then build herself a startup. So I'm going to hand it over to her. So introduce yourself and let's start by just telling me where it all began.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me back. I think the last time I did a podcast, I was still very much doing the clinical work. I think I even did a session with my last, the clinic director as well. So it's lovely to come back with a very different perspective as someone who's actually built in the mental health space. So I'm the founder of MindeMe. I'm still a practicing psychologist here in Dubai, and I largely focus on trying to democratize well-being. We have been working on MindeMe for the last year now, more like year and a half if you consider the research and validation, all those big words. But MindeMe's entire mission was about democratizing well-being, getting people the accessibility to support that they need. I think mental health is something that everyone has. Whether it's good or bad is a different question, but everyone needs some support and should have a lifeline in their pockets when needed be. We largely did B2B sales first. We were down the whole B2B SaaS route and creating an entire well-being system for organizations. And more recently, I've decided to go more D2C, direct to users, given the market change. But yeah, it happened gradually, I would say. The change from going from a clinical standpoint to, okay, now I'm going to do venture and entrepreneurship. So.
That's very interesting. I always find it interesting when people switch over. And it's very seldom that you find people switching over who are kind of like, clear career trajectory.
Yeah.
You find like a business grad who's mucking about doing some internships here and there, part-time job here and there. You know this person's unsettled. It's the 9 to 5 is not for him or her. They're going to be like, career guys, which is perfectly fine. Or you find them who, people who are a little bit more always interested in the next thing, and they're kind of like always getting bored too quickly and finding like, oh, I wonder how this works. And that level of curiosity is there. But then there's always all these professions where you typically don't see that type of shift.
Yeah.
Yours is exactly like one of those. Okay, I'm going to go be a doctor. I'm going to be a dentist. I'm going to be these are like set career trajectory professions. So very seldom we see people switching out. So let's back up a little. What made you want to dip your toes in the entrepreneurial pool?
So I think it was definitely a few different factors. I think one, definitely considering that I was really new. I was like, I had graduated like a year prior. I had just kind of like dipped my toes properly into the clinical space. And I really enjoyed it, but I started seeing the limitations very quickly where I just felt that, okay, I can help X amount of people a week, but there's all these other people who are still struggling. I did workshops and I was like, okay, great. This is more people. There's a greater audience. But then I started realizing that, okay, they have this like sort of like one touch point that they get every few weeks where they get to talk to someone who's a professional. And then I started really seeing the glass ceiling when it came to the mental health profession, like just the industry itself, and how it is quite backwards. It's sometimes there's just not enough innovation in the clinical side of things, especially with well-being and mental health. And I was fortunate enough to be just fresh enough post-graduation, having had a really supportive family. I had a really supportive best friend who was like really pushing me. She's like, what do you have to lose? What's the worst? At least you've tried. And I got into like the right spaces as well in terms of just trying the idea, questioning people. And I think the more I had asked people and I spoke to people like, is this a problem for you? Why is this a problem for you? Okay, you have a therapist but can't commit to it. Why not? Right? Oh, you've never been to therapy, but you know you need therapy. What's stopping you? And understanding that problem space made me really understand that, okay, it is a big enough problem to sort of, take a break from the clinical world. If I ever want to come back to it, I can. But I really felt that sort of pull almost like, okay, right now is the right time. I have the right energy, the right motivation as well. And I think support does go a really long way when you're making that first step, because I feel like a lot of people get discouraged at that point. There's you're most of the times fighting yourself, telling yourself like, oh no, it's not worth it, it's okay, like, what am I doing, what if it flops, but I think I was urged to think about what if it works out. So that really helped me make that shift over a lot smoother. So
That's nice. And I think you're right. Having the right support makes all the difference. Even if you just sometimes have that one voice tell you something that you need to hear in that moment, and then all of a sudden you get that little bit of reinforcement, that tiny bit of validation. And what a lot of people will be surprised about is someone who kind of has it in their head to make an impact, to make a change. They don't need a big push. They just need a tiny nudge.
yeah, just like a little.
Just a tiny nudge, like, hey, you're doing okay. Keep going. I have no idea what you're doing. I am not an expert in your field. I don't know nothing about nothing, but you do you. And that nudge. And that really, really has impact.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, we've discussed it indirectly over many years ago. And I always have this conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with. It's lonely being an entrepreneur. And I remember a specific conversation with a close friend. And I was telling her, I'm like, look, you think it's lonely when you mess up and you've made a mistake?
Mm-hmm.
That's not lonely for an entrepreneur. Lonely for entrepreneurs when something works out and you're the only one, 2 a.m. in your office or in your basement or in your dungeon of work or whatever you want to call it. And you're like, yes. And then you look around, there's nobody to share the yes with. Nobody to share the victory with. It is a lonely path. And we've had different discussions about this also. But I like what you talked about, having that right support to get you motivated, to just give it a go, to give it a try. In the early years, this is when it's tough for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, what I've noticed is that the ecosystem here in the country is a lot more difficult because we're new and we're small. You can't compare to, the Y Combinator style of doing things. I've had startups that I've advised. I literally told them to pack up and move because the market was too small for them, and they shifted, and they're making a killing now. And you have to obviously, match your product and service with your customer, and then you have to go where your customer is. We know all this, but for a young person to start and have that idea and, right out of school, a couple of years to be able to take that risk, that's big enough.
Yeah.
It's scary. But when we step into the ecosystem here, it's very, very difficult to find the right type of support.
Mm-hmm.
In my 20-some years of doing this, every time I sit in investors, they're not looking for pre-seed or seed.
No.
They want how much money you making?
They want pre-rev.
How quickly can you 10x?
Like, yeah.
Bro, we just have a slide deck.
No one wants pre-rev, whereas in the US, pre-rev is like such a normal conversation.
It's a normal conversation.
It's like, oh, the product isn't done yet, but like we have this idea, and you do see those startups getting funded, and it is a very, very different ecosystem. But I will never say difficult. I would say it's very different. I think there's also a lot of difficulties that come with being in an ecosystem like San Francisco's or like the European ecosystems. I think each of them have their own setbacks. I think the UAE, for me, in the beginning, it was very easy to just ask a lot of questions, and everyone has the appetite to answer those questions. I remember coming to you. I went to a couple of different investors, bugged them about different questions. I went to my current investors, bugged them about a bunch about like different things I had. And I realized that there was nothing wrong in asking questions. And just asking, and that commitment and consistency with asking and showing results as well. Be like, oh, remember that one question I asked? So I tried it out.
Yeah.
Remember that one thing that you mentioned? I've done it. And that helped me create a little bit of that momentum. I think early days is really important, maintaining that momentum. The second you slow down, especially if you're a one-person army, then, you're already a decade behind in some cases, especially with if you compare yourself as a solo entrepreneur to someone who has maybe a co-founder. So I was very, very determined of like, okay, gotta keep the pace up. Um, the one big difference that I've also the difficulty is also being a female entrepreneur, whether it's in this
Yep.
region or globally. It is tough to be a female entrepreneur. I've noticed in a lot of rooms, I'm sometimes the only woman, and sometimes it can feel a little daunting. I do have to use my voice in very different ways to get heard as well. Um, but it all becomes an exercise over time, and I feel like the self-limiting beliefs are what stop you from doing better. And I think when it comes to the difficulties, there are ways to navigate it. There are communities. Early days, even if you're pre-seed and you can't find the investors, if you can find the community to just hype you up a little bit, those communities, and share ideas, ask questions, and absorb as much as you can, and also test as much. If you're a founder who's just sitting on an idea and not testing anything, and you don't know how your users feel about it, then you've just got a cute little website to your name, unfortunately. And I learned very quickly, with MindMe, we put ourselves on WhatsApp, and we were like, try it out, try it out, try it out. Gave people my number. I'm like, reach out to me with feedback. Let me know.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, would love a voice feature on this. Would love this. Would love that. And over time, we built out the product rather than just building something fancy out and then trying to like put it into someone's face. And the community gives you back. So what you put in it is what you get back. And that's what I've learned. Even if it's a really small and young ecosystem here, there's just a lot of excitement, even in just the pre-seed stage.
Nice.
Uh,
That's reaffirming. That's good to hear. It's a struggle everywhere, and like I think what you said was very, very on spot in terms of there's different struggles, different places. Everyone's got their own flavor of difficulties. Um, let's talk about now that you've kind of got that idea, and now you started meeting people. You kind of like unlock that door. Now you're walking through it and you're starting to talk to people, customers. When I say people, I mean you're starting to talk to customers who are supposed to pay you.
Mhm.
The pay you part is like the next big hurdle. I always tell everyone I advise that the first hurdle is just start, and that's where a massive mountain of self doubt kicks in. That's where you see a lot of most people just quit. They're like, oh well, I have the idea. Let me work on it more. Let me work on it more. 5 years later, the planet has changed, and you're still trying to cook your idea. It doesn't work. You gotta just go. You can't wait to be ready. You just have to go. So the first big hurdle is just starting. The second big hurdle, and I talk to a lot of founders about this, is when somebody's going to pay you. How was it when you got that little first validation of somebody giving you money?
Hmm. I think whether it be like, so because we started B2B, it also was a very long sales cycle. There was piloting, there was restructuring, there was convincing, there was negotiation. It didn't seem as simple as, oh, here you go, the app. Here you go, the entire system. Now give me the money. It was very much like, okay, we did like, I think my first customer was Mitsubishi. So we landed a big boy quite immediately, worked really, really hard, alhamdulillah. And then um, it was just, I think, the art of selling, and then also understanding the value of what you're selling and not to oversell. We had very fairly priced it in the beginning. We worked with their budget. And I think a lot of the times, founders in the beginning, they focus sometimes too much on just the value. And they're like, I need to get money. I need to get this much amount of money. And I'm like, your first few sales, especially if you're building a B2B SaaS product, you're going to have some errors, you're going to have some problems. It's not going to be perfect, especially because um we were still a little new. We had been building, I think, at that point for 4 months, and then had our first sale. So we were playing it very, very cautious. But the first time I saw the money like hit the account, I was like, oh, it works. Does this people want to pay?
Yeah.
I came up with something real, and I think that's the feeling for most founders. It's like, okay, people are willing to pay for it because it's a real pain point and it's solving something for them. But the process to getting to that sale, I think
Yep.
a lot of founders already give up already.
A lot of them give up before.
Yeah, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, which is like, a lot of the times in that sales negotiation, you're already like, oh my God, like, why is it not working? Why are they not as excited? And it's like, if you're already obsessed with getting them to say yes, the person in front of you, and this is where psychology for me does help, which is if you're so hell-bent on trying to get them to say yes, they're trying to look for the hook of, well, why are they trying to make me say yes so quickly? So this is where I, like, even with some founders friends, I always like remind them, it's like, you gotta walk them through the entire process, negotiate, find value, create value for them, make them see blind spots that you see, you know, in terms of like how your product can help them, and your sale will be more natural. And once the money comes, oh, it's like it's like I do remember very clearly when like the first like tranche of the full amount hit, and we were just there like I was just sitting there like in disbelief, and immediately I was just like, okay, sorry, relief. Money's actually coming in. It's an actual business. It's not just some fluffy thing in my head. But then it also gave me the feel of like, okay, now it's go time. Go. Even though I really wanted to take a little break, but we kept pushing.
No, so you know, I've been in and out of so many ventures over the years. It's for me, it's just part of how my brain operates. But that piece, it never changes. I've got a venture with a buddy of mine. We took 2 years to put it together because we just kept getting busy with something else. It wasn't like we were working for 2 years. The idea came 2 years ago. We snoozed on it, and then we're like, oh man, we got to work on that. Okay, we'll work on it. Let's work on it next weekend. Semester went by. You know, the summer went by. The winter. Oh God, dude, it's winter break, man. We got to go to desert. We got to chill later. What's the hurry? So literally at one point I was sitting with him, I'm like, man, you know, it's been 2 years we're talking about this. Can we like get serious? He's like, what? I thought it was just a couple of weeks. I'm like, no, man, 2 years. Remember this happened and we talked about it? He goes, oh, really? So long story short, we spent the summer, you know, starting it, finishing it, you know, and then we just put it out there. And then we're like, okay, let's take a little bit of a pause before we get the whole marketing sales engine going, because it took a lot for both of us. We had a lot of other commitments also, but nonetheless, we put it together, we rolled it out, and it was connected to my company's Stripe account. So it was like 2 a.m, and you know, and I was working on something, and I get an alert from Stripe. I'm like, oh man, please don't be some fraud thingy. I don't got time to deal with this. Like, ding ding, you got this much money. I'm like, who's sending me money on the and why this is such a weird amount? Because we had to put a something 99, right? Just to make it price cool. And we're like, we'll market it later. Somebody found us without us even telling anybody. This is how cool it was. I'm like, wait, that's the amount I put on that platform. Then I stopped what I was doing. I logged in. I checked. I'm like, first customer. I took a screenshot. I sent it to my buddy. I'm like, bro. And he sleeps early. I don't know what was happening. And he texted me, he goes, what did you send me? I'm like, are you awake? He goes, no, the little ping happened. And I woke up and I'm like, something's going on. And I saw your name. You never message. I mean, he goes, you message, but you never like message. Like, I'm like, dude, did you see it? He goes, is it what I think it is? I'm like, yeah, bro. Then, you know, guys don't use words. We're like, bro, oh my God, really? So then we're just kind of like sitting quiet on the call. So that moment passed very quickly when we realized, you know, plugging that into the Excel sheet barely made a dent on the negative number that we had. And I'm like, it's okay, man. It's a start.
Yeah.
We only need a gazillion more to get there.
But it's just like, it's the first nudge, you know, and I do feel like it's like that like tiny little nudge for several actions to kind of, it's just like the motivation, the excitement. You're like, this actually works, you know?
Yeah. And then, you know, like for me, this has been my default and I've tried to change it, but it's just part of who I am. So that moment was, you know, we closed the phone. I said, all right, man, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll figure out the rest. And I think maybe another 5 minutes, I was like just floating. And then I'm like, what if there's something wrong? What if they use the service? What if it crashes? What if this happens? What if that happens? I didn't sleep the night. I went back onto the system. I went through every single piece of the stuff that we had built, quadruple checked it. And then like 7 a.m, sent a message to my friend. I'm like, dude, I quadruple checked everything. And he's like, man, I just woke up in a panic thinking the same thing. And I was gonna quadruple check everything. I'm like,
We actually had
I
an
need to-
experience, it's a very jarring experience. I got very lucky with a great a creative studio, and we were piloting with them. And around that time, we had just hired a new engineer, absolutely phenomenal. She's become a really good friend through work. And we had just changed a few things here and there, and we were like, it's okay, should be fine, should be fine. We had tested the app like an hour earlier, it was fine. Got there, started the pilot, and then everyone's like, I'm unable to log in, Nokhez.
Oh my goodness.
And I was
my
like-
heart would have sank.
And the thing is, we had sent them out a specific code for them to get free access to it. And I'm like, I couldn't breathe. I was like,
Oh,
okay.
goodness.
Okay, I'm like, all right, keep it calm. I was like, it's okay, guys. We'll send out an email. And it's very different when it's one or two people saying it's not working. It's very different when it's like in front
Everybody.
of you and everyone's like, oh, but it's not scanning right. It's not working. And they're like, just give us a few minutes. And I was extremely lucky that even the person, like the CEO of the studio was super sweet. He was like, hey guys, it's tech. We all go through it. And I think those sort of environments also, as a founder, it's just like, one, being the perfectionist I am, I
Yeah.
was just like, it doesn't work. Oh my God. And it was the first time we were launching the app. And this was like once we graduated from the whole WhatsApp scene. But I think it was one of those moments where it really taught me the value of time and money for these people, and that every single user, every single customer is putting in time, which
Yep.
is the most precious resource that they have, and money. And I think that changed a little bit of ball game. We communicated with the company instantly. We're like, hey, we're having some trouble, but we'll give you like a few free perks here and there. They're still with us. Did a
amazing.
workshop with them recently, and they're lovely people. But I feel like it's so important to make these mistakes early in your journey, because it teaches you the value of double checking, triple checking systems, how to make sure that everything's fine, making sure that your team also understands their responsibility. Also helps you realize you gotta self-regulate.
It's tough. I hear you 100% on that. And I'm guilty of not practicing what I preach in this case. I've told so many, projects that I've been consulting on that, hey, man, it's okay. Tech problems happen. It's okay. Take a deep breath. That's all right. We just tell them that there was some glitch, whatever. We'll get to the other side of it. But, that's easy to say. But when it happens to you,
Oh,
man, I'm telling you, I get like this tsunami of embarrassment.
yeah, I just get
And
warm.
then I feel this like this hole of incompetence that I sink into because I'm me, I'm like probably worse than you being a perfectionist on stuff, right?
Yeah.
It has to be perfect.
Yeah, if it's
There's-
not good, if it's not perfect, it's not good enough. What is it doing?
And it has to be perfect to me.
Yeah.
To me, I've woken up in the middle of the night because I dreamt that this design layout on this slide deck was wrong because the logo wasn't aligned the correct way on page 4 and page 18. And I've called up the founder that I've been consulting with, and she was like, I saw you made an edit. I couldn't find it. I'm like, yeah, page this and page this. The logo was misaligned by about 1 millimeter. How do you see that? I'm like, my brain sees these things. I don't know what to tell you. And I can't sleep till I fix it. But that's one side of me, So that side of me fights with the other side that says, don't wait for perfection, start. Build and fix as you go along,
Yeah.
which is the right way to do it. So for me, it's always an internal struggle. Every time I've got, not that it's got my name on it. It doesn't have to be. Like it's a product that I've even built for somebody else and they're launching and there's a problem. I feel bad because it's kind of like, man, this
It's a
is,
sense of responsibility that
yeah,
kicks
I'm like,
in.
Ali made this, man. How can, no, bro, no. So that inner dialogue is horrible. But this is part of being an entrepreneur. You're going to hit those speed bumps. You're going to hit terrible
Some
presentations.
walls.
Oh, you're going to ping off some walls for sure. For sure. All that's going to happen. So, that part of that entrepreneurial block, the struggle, the order inside the chaos is the best way I can explain it. It's an adventure onto its own. And it's always phenomenally entertaining. It's got highs, it's got lows. It's like a Turkish TV drama. It's got everything in it. It doesn't seem to want to finish you.
So it just keeps going.
Keeps going. So first money in, I always
Mhm.
like that one, even if it's $2, on the subscribe or whatever it is. It's just that validation
Yeah.
really kind of says, oh, somebody's paying for this. So what I built is something people would want. It's because
Mhm.
you're always, as an entrepreneur, as somebody especially if you've ideated the thing,
Yeah.
you're always second guessing yourself. So I think that's one of the big milestones to hit. Talk to me about, and it doesn't have to always be in the sequence for listeners. Sometimes, you get investment first. Sometimes you get the first customer first because you're
Mhm.
bootstrapping. But the other thing that I always found is interesting is when somebody gives you money as an investor.
Mhm.
I always, I'm bad with this. I've bootstrapped majority of my stuff.
Mhm.
I've got in trouble for it. I burned through some serious chunks of cash over the years. But that's just my personal style. But talk to me about the feeling when your first investor says, "You know what? Okay," because that happens after gazillion pitches and meetings,
Yeah.
and you get exhausted.
I mentioned consistency. You gotta be consistent with your
Mhm.
investors. I got very lucky, alhamdulillah, I would say, that I was in the right rooms with the right people who were challenging me in the right ways. They had seen me go from, oh, I want to do something in well-being. I want to create the ChatGPT for mental health. The ChatGPT is doing all the work now, but it's they had challenged me just right in the right direction of like, okay, but how are you going to make money out of this? What's the growth like? And they had asked the right questions, where I was like, ah, I want these guys to be on my cap table. I want them to help me grow
Yep.
further. And I feel like sometimes founders, we just get obsessed with money, not realizing that you have to be smart about where the money is coming from,
Hmm.
who your investor is going to be, how is this investor, besides money, are they going to open doors? Um, I had a brilliant investor that came on a little bit later, and he was a very strategic investor.
I told you the light was gonna fall. Don't
Sorry.
worry about it. I warned you. It's okay. This is normal. My podcast listeners are used to my makeshift studio. I need to do like a behind the scenes of how terrible of an engineer I
But
am.
it's great, guys.
She's alive. Don't worry.
Um, but yeah, I was saying we got an investor later that came in, and he was great. He had opened the right doors for us. He had even asked the right questions. He's like, "Hey, let me help you get a technical audit done." He helped us early stage get an audit done. He got certain conversations rolling, um, and he made us understand things from a very different like perspective. And a lot of the times, as a founder, you just need perspective. Sometimes founders, we don't read the term sheet, and sometimes we sign things that we shouldn't be signing. And then later we're like, oops, we shouldn't be doing this. And I got very lucky that I was a bit
Oh, I
like,
got a particular coffee lady who's coming in a couple of weeks who'll tell you about signing without looking. You know who I'm talking about.
oh my God. But it's for me, it was very much like I was very detail oriented as to who the investor is going to be, why am I signing, how much am I signing for as well.
Mhm.
Value am I signing? A lot of founders overvalue themselves, and then they're like, oh, why are the other investors all looking at me now? And it's just like, well, you're overpriced,
Yeah.
would you buy an overpriced cake that just tastes like normal cake? No. And there's a lot of these like scenarios, like as founders, we don't think about when we think about investment. We just think about, we need to get that money, we gotta survive, and it is a survival instinct. But for me, I got lucky with my first investor being a strategical investor, where I was able to pilot MindeMe for 6 months with them, get a lot of feedback from them, understand how to run the product. They were great support. They were also really great in terms of just providing a little bit of that backbone that I needed early days, in terms of, man, I don't believe in this. What am I doing? And also with them just giving me different perspectives from time to time. And I think personally, seeing the money come through, I was like, oh, oh my God, this is real. I think it's just being a first time founder, when you get that first paycheck, whether it be from your client or your investors, it is a moment of where you're like, okay, this is real. This actually means
She
something.
just got real, y'all. She just
Exactly.
got real, y'all.
Shit just got
That's
really
all.
real.
That's always me.
Yeah, and then my second investor was my dad, so I got very
Oh.
like that. I think further gave me a little bit of that
Shout
sort
out.
of, yeah.
Respect, bro.
Yeah, big supporter since day one. But alhamdulillah, I feel like I got very, very lucky with my first 2 to 3 investors. They were very strategic. I was very picky with them. And there is an element of luck. I think if you have the right conversations and you're not desperate for money, I always tell my founder friends, don't be begging for money. You need to learn when to be able to walk away. I mean, I
Yeah.
did get like, I'm not gonna lie, I did get into a position last year where we were down to the couple thousands left. And it was about really, like um, pulling the right sort of like gears to make sure that, okay, we're getting the money coming in from clients, making sure that, even with early stage startups, you end up not always having a great, like, it's not always revenue generating day one. It will take time, especially with B2B.
Yeah.
There was a period where we were just piloting, and with the seasonality that comes in the UAE, with summer being dead, Ramadan being slow, with Christmas being off, it's just 1 minute you're doing great, second minute you're not doing that so great. So we had to maintain that flexibility of, okay, we're piloting. From piloting, what are our like, how are we going to take this from like, how are we going to convert this pilot to a paying customer? What value are we going to do with that? Okay, we're doing this, can we ask them for a social referral? You got to keep the engine running, not to be super desperate for money from
Yep.
investors, because if you're making money, the investors will come naturally.
Agreed on that. And this cash flow problem is every startup's problem. I've seen so many crash and burn because of cash flow issues. I think for the most part, I've been lucky. I've always had kind of like a slush fund, so to speak. I got a bunch of friends. They invest in stuff they understand, and I've told them this. I'm like, guys, some advice for investors: don't invest in stuff that you don't understand,
Yeah.
and don't invest in stuff that you can't add value to. It's just not a good fit. Invest somewhere else. There's a gazillion places. So I've got, a bunch of friends who are always keen to invest. And they're like, Ali, whatever you do, we'll put money in. I'm like, no, you can't put money in what I do because you might not understand what I'm doing with one project or another. Only put money into a project that you're interested in, or you understand, or you're excited about, or you can add some value.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to be the tech guy to build it, but you're like, hey, I know my network of people who would be great customers for this. Okay, now there's some synergy. This you can work with. But those same network of friends that I have, I always lean on them on like what I call my slush fund. Like, hey guys, the bank balance is about to go negative 00, make Ali cry. So they literally like, what's the account number? And I'm like, here's the account number. How much you want? I'm like, can you drop like 50,000, 100,000? I gotta make payroll also. They're like, no problem. They know I'm good for it. So all the accounting people are like, Ali, it's not allowed. You can't do it. You can't do it this way. So what do we call it in the investment world? Bridge loan. The bro,
Bridge round.
the bro bridge loan.
The
So
bridge
no, so
rounds.
that has always bailed me out more times than I can count because I'm a strategy and systems guy. I'm not an accounting guy. I hate looking at numbers. The very second there's something that's got a lot of accounting type stuff in it, I need a co-founder who does. I'm like, you agree to handle this? Yes. I'm like, no. You exclusively agree to handle the accounting?
Don't involve me. Don't ask for me. Don't talk to me.
I will hand to God, sign it blank, no problem. But I'll read all the contracts and legals. I'll take care of that. I just hate it. So I've been fortunate enough to have people kind of bail me out when I was always getting myself in trouble. Alhamdulillah, I always rectified the situation later. But you're right, cash flow is tricky. Early day term sheets are tricky.
Yeah.
Different time and different investors are tricky. I remember a particular young man I had advised a while back, and he was like, I've got some like big name global investors wanting in, but they just want a really big piece of the pie. And I told him, like, what's your cash flow like? He goes, I'm zero. And I said, do you have a credit card? And he goes, what? I'm like, never repeat this to anybody because this is the one piece of advice I never give. But I know exactly where you are with your startup. You are not a demo. You are a delivery. You're 2 weeks away. I'm like, take out your credit card, max it out. He's like, but I'm like, look, I'll back you up on the deal. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, if you don't get the deal locked in with these investors by the end of the month at better terms, I'll cover your credit card debt. He goes, Ali, I'm about to withdraw 50K. I'm like, I'll cover. I never said I won't cry. I'll cry, but I'll cover it. I might have to, sell a bike or something. We'll figure it out. He waited 4 weeks and he got the deal he
Yeah.
wanted. And literally 4 weeks is nothing if you think about it.
Yeah, it's like that's a crazy deal.
It's nothing.
Because
Just waiting. I mean,
usually,
I can't share the numbers or the company
yeah,
or the guy because NDAs and whatnot. But literally 4 weeks made a massive difference in how much equity he was going to
yeah,
give up because he went from them seeing a demo product to fully functional.
yeah,
And now you have crossed over to,
yeah.
bro, it's working. It's not conceptual or theoretical or
Mhm.
inshallah. It's actually working.
Mhm.
Now we're about to roll the gravy train out. You want in?
Yeah.
Then he got to dictate his terms.
Yeah.
And he got the deal. And he cleared his credit card bill like in a minute. But yeah, I hear you. Getting money from investors is another really nice kind of like moment of joy. But you got to be careful.
Very, very
You got to be
careful.
very careful. And legal side of all the terms and conditions are important. Understanding when you want to swap over how much equity, that's also important.
Mhm.
I think the last part of our conversation today, I want to talk to you about the importance of a pivot or pivots. I know we
Pivoting.
joke about it from friends, like pivot, pivot, and they're talking about a couch, but we do it in life,
Mhm.
and not only do we do it in life all the time without realizing it,
Yeah.
there's a massive importance to understanding the value of a pivot in your startup.
Yeah.
So tell me more about your pivots.
So currently we had a miserable 2 months, 2 to 3 months, where I had already sensed a little bit of the issue with sales cycles, and I am a little impatient. I am very much like, okay, when's the next meeting? What's the next meeting? And with sales cycles in the UAE, I was noticing that it was just taking a lot longer. And I was like, the longer this takes to convert into a paying customer, the more likely I am to lose a potential investor. And I was like, I want money. Because I know that this is a pain point because everyone's kind of feeling it one way or the other. People using ChatGPT for their mental health is a great use case for why MindMe would work. And
Also, a great use case for why they shouldn't use it and should use MindMe.
exactly, because guys, we have clinical guardrails. But
Yes.
we had gotten to a point where the data just was showing that no matter what we tried in our marketing, in our sales, we tried Apollo, we tried going crazy on LinkedIn. We were, I literally sat down and was sending people messages on LinkedIn twice a week, following up and trying to pitch them of this idea. And I'm like, nothing seems to be moving this boat faster. And this boat is sinking slowly. And in startups, the momentum is infectious. If money's coming in, people are using it, the engineering team will feel it too. I start feeling the slowness, my team's starting to feel the slowness because we can all see the numbers. And we decided to pivot based on data. And because I have always had a hunch that D2C in the well-being space would be better. But we're not pivoting directly into a mental health AI support because that comes with a lot of regulation related things we need to consider. We were very aware of the fact that, okay, AI is also not there yet when we can call it an AI therapist. There's a lot of research that still needs to be done. So we've decided to sort of entirely also change the product in that regards. We're not talking about it as a mental health or well-being as a companion. It's a coaching companion. People need, in most cases nowadays, they need coaching, especially with their career, especially when it comes down to just figuring out the little things in the day-to-day stresses, whether it's with their colleagues in terms of communication, or whether it's understanding how to manage their money, how to coach through that. Or how to understand what your partner needs and coaching through that. So it's just like we're looking at different coaching points and not necessarily calling it well-being, like mental health AI, because even as a therapist, I know what that comes with. So for us, it was very data-driven, looking at what the numbers was showing. A little bit of intuition goes a very long way. As a founder, there was a reason I started on this in the first place. I might as well go with my gut for a bit longer as well and see, maybe it tells me something. And lastly, looking at localization. Locally, the regulations are are great in terms of like they want to make sure like what you're selling and whether it's ethical. Right now, AI and mental health, it's a big question even in the West. And there's just not enough research in this region about the use cases for AI and mental health. And we took the smarter option, which was like we're going to treat it as a coach. We do not diagnose, we do not treat, but we will support in just the day-to-day complexities of things. And we're using our own framework in-house. So, hoping for the best. We're just going to start piloting and pivoting out slowly. So hopefully, see
Fantastic.
how things go. But it's
Fantastic.
has to be number-based. Can't just be a gut feeling all the time.
This is a hard one to swallow. A lot of times you'll see founders, they start with a concept in their head or a problem and a solution that they've kind of fixated on, and the data starts telling them a different story. And then they'll start to lie to themselves.
Oh,
It's
it's the biggest sort of disservice you can do to yourself as a founder.
I can see, startups screw up on cash flow, and I'll be like, it's bad. All right, it is what it is. I'll see a mess up on so many other things. You made a bad deal. You signed a dumb contract. List goes on and on. This one, this one hurts. This one, and I put it very harshly to all founders. I said, look, the worst lie that you can tell is a lie you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So look at the facts around you. I don't need to tell you about all the various cognitive biases that the human species is plagued with. Just pick one. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for the founder to, sit down with that realization and say, wait, was I wrong? And that's the wrong question to ask yourself, but that's the one you do. Yeah. The question is not, was I wrong? The question should be, what can I do differently now? But again, that perspective is hard when you're sitting alone.
Yeah.
And even with co-founders, they'll just, because they both believed in the original concept.
There's double the trouble.
And then, exactly. Then they've just doubled the trouble. I'm like, guys, what's wrong with you guys?
The thing is, the last maybe like 3 months have been really difficult because there is a sense of like my team is tiny. It's just 3 of us. It's me and my 2 engineers. I'm the marketing, I'm HR, I'm sales, I'm ops, I'm everything. There are one's AI and the other one's doing front end. And even the designer, he left recently because the situation got really tight. And it was very lonely in that moment of like realizing I'm like, so the last 6 months that I've been knocking my head on sales when I should have just followed my gut feeling. All right. And I think sometimes as founders, we know how to lie to ourselves so well that we get ourselves out of even good ideas.
Oh, yeah, that one hurts a lot.
And
that realization will come eventually, and it'll hurt.
Yeah, and I got, my favorite thing is talking, obviously, hence why I'm a therapist. But I got into immediate conversations with some of my mentors. I reached out to different founders who had built during COVID and had to do a sharp pivot. I reached out to founders who realized that they were pivoting too late. Reached out to founders who stuck to their first guns and why did they stick and how did they make it through even when everyone tells you pivoting is a normal thing as a founder. Because there's so much noise sometimes that sometimes it's like, how do I chop this away?
The order and the chaos.
Yeah, and I think just those few fundamental early conversations help me understand, okay, what do I need to do? What are some of the the experiments we will run? And be structured in your chaos. You gotta bring that balance back in. Like if everything is on fire, try to figure out, if you can, crawl and walk, kind of like walk out, figure out your way of like getting out of the fire, or see if there is maybe a room that isn't affected by the fire, rather than just bolting out. And I think a lot of founders, they rather, so it takes a level of being able to understand that you've got to let your ego go as well. Like, yes, you spent 6 months and money and time and tears, and there's a lot of shame that comes in as well, but it's just like, it's just a pivot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that big
But
of a
it's hard.
deal.
I think what you mentioned earlier about being on a boat, I think the people who haven't ventured into this would be a nice way to explain it to them. And the ones who are in it, they were like, oh my God, that's exactly it. Being a startup founder is like being in a boat with a hole in it. And there's a hole. So do you start plugging the hole first, or do you start bailing out the water first, or do you, paddle faster to get to wherever you're supposed to? This is the big kicker. And, when I do my coaching for my startups, I tell them, like, guys, there's no one right answer.
Yeah.
You have to get out of the mindset, because that's what school has trained you for, right? There's one best answer. There is no one right answer. There is no efficient, perfect answer. You do the best you can with the information that you
And
have
you
when
keep
you have it.
trying.
And exactly. And you gotta keep trying. You can't get stagnant. You can't just stop and wait, because the water will keep flooding in the boat. So, the clock is always running.
Mm.
But yeah.
There's one thing I was gonna add. I don't remember who said it, but they compared running a startup to a car that it just doesn't work. All right. And you've got like one spare part that comes in every now and then, and the car kind of works. And it is what it is. It's like, that's exactly how it feels like. Sometimes you get the money. I have the money, but I don't have the team now. All right.
Yep.
I don't have the clients. Okay. So I've got one thing that's running. Okay. Now I have the clients, but now I suddenly don't have the money from the investors to pay my engineers for the clients. And you're constantly like balancing. But I do feel like the community here is so nice. We're all in the same boat. We really all understand it.
So we're all in the sinky Titanic boat. Okay, I got you.
The same sinky boat. I think the community that I found really helped.
That's great.
And I think just sometimes reaching out to different founders. I've just connected through accelerators. Got very, very lucky with C3. Connected with a lot of lovely female founders there. I
excellent.
remember it was like the Women in Tech with Standard Charter. It was our accelerator demo day. And it just dawned on me that I'm the only one there who doesn't have a child. And all the other founders had that they were mothers. And I'm like,
That's so cool.
That's insane. And I'm like, it puts things into perspective. I'm like, this is killer, because you have so many of your own limiting beliefs, like, oh, as a woman, I'll have kids and I can't do my startup. But it's just like I saw all these women just doing what they were supposed to be doing and like what they wanted to do. And I was like, wow, cool. Spoke to them about my worries. They sorted it. Got into Litter Accelerator out of San Francisco as well. Learned a lot from them as well in terms of just the speed and competition. Whoa, it's a different monster there. And I think as long as you put yourself in position from learning from other people, you'll be fine. As long as you have to expose yourself.
I like that. And I think that's a perfect way to end our conversation today.
Yeah.
And as I tell everybody, put the muscle in the hustle.
Yeah.
You got to keep moving.
Trying.
Keep moving, keep trying.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nokhez. Always good to have conversations with you.
Always.
Hopefully a lot of listeners can, appreciate the journey of startup founders, and a lot of startup founders can be oh man, I'm not alone in this. See, sinky boat, gotcha. Okay, everybody. See you guys on the next one. Thank you very much for listening in. I'll put the links wherever. I don't know, man. So the tech guys do this, not me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.